professional about the status of their issues. Okay?
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
243-1200, 243-1200. Talk line number. If you have a legal question, legal concern, you want to get on here and mix it up, I'll answer your questions. The other numbers are 697-4297 and 866-532-9466. You may wonder, why do we have three numbers? Well, some numbers are local to different areas. One's toll-free. We've got listeners all over the area, and some people like to avoid those long-distance charges. Now, I got Shane working away on this, by the way. Next week, if everything works right, I'm going to have my own 800 number, and it's going to be a one-time, all-the-time 800 number. So let me tell you how that's going to work. We're going to have a number that you call that I'll say here on the air, and that number will ring through to the radio station on Saturday mornings while I'm here. But if I'm not here and you need to call me, that number is going to ring through to my office all the rest of the time. And that way, if you're listening to a rerun and you call the we don't do reruns, we do best of. But if you're listening to one of those and you hear the 800 number, you'll know that you can still call it, and even if you don't get the show, you'll still be able to ask your question or leave me a message, because that one number, it'll be like PA1 call. You just call that number and you'll get me wherever I am. And if we get really tricky, we might even figure out how to forward it to my cell phone in the middle of the night, so that all those holiday DUIs can call me. Which reminds me, do not drink and drive. This is the biggest time of the year for it. And what I mean by that is a lot of people make the mistake. The holiday parties, as a lawyer, we see this quite frequently. We see two kinds of DUIs, I always like to say. We see the habitual drinkers who probably were due for a DUI and deserve what they get. And we get the, I don't really drink anything but one glass of wine at Thanksgiving dinner with my family, but somehow I got dragged to a Christmas party, and the girl who was supposed to be my designated driver disappeared, and I had 3 beers, but because I rarely drink, its effect on me was terrible. And I'm literally with a very low BAC falling into ditches and knocking over stop signs. And we see those cases around this time of year. So if you see a friend who's imbibed too much, don't let him drive. And if you've imbibed too much, don't drive. I don't really want the business. We lawyers would always rather have you people not drinking and driving than drinking and driving at the end of the day. We see too much harm from that. I've been involved in many cases where a lot of terrible things have happened. And it could have been prevented. And a lot of times it could have been prevented not only by the person who was drinking, but by the friends of the person who was drinking. There's that social pressure. Anyhow, I just want to remind you, do not drink and drive, because this is the time of year for it. And law enforcement, knowing this, is going to have even larger patrols out there. Scott, you're on WIOO. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, Carl. Thanks for taking my call. I enjoy talking to you much better than talking to my own attorney.
Oh, thank you.
You know why?
No. I'm free?
Yes. I talked to my attorney, and his head morphs into one of those taxi cab meters. And it's tough. Anyhow, I'm going to appeal a case.
Okay.
And, I'm just curious, if when you get into the courthouse down here in York and you get out of line, you might say something like, you got to be kidding, or something, what can happen to you?
Well, it all depends on what kind of courtroom you're in, okay? I've seen, and I won't name names, but I'll give Dauphin County as an example. I've seen a judge there when somebody snickered under their breath or mumbled under their breath, something as they were walking out of the courtroom, even afterwards. I've seen him have the sheriff drag the person back in and throw him in the back room for half an hour, I'm not sure that's appropriate, but nonetheless, I've seen it done. I can think of other courtrooms where, boy, I had a guy in court with a judge, and he was talking back to the judge and talking down to the judge, and the court reporter said to me afterwards, he doesn't realize how lucky he is, because most judges don't have that tolerance, and this particular judge does. He just doesn't fool, lets the guy go. So it's going to vary widely. The other question is the appropriateness of it. I mean, here's the answer. If something shocks or amazes you, and it's obviously shocking and amazing, a little excited utterance, or, a little... what would we call that, a word bomb or something like that, might be tolerated with just a little, like, please don't say that again, or careful,
okay,
watch
you
it.
Get warned by the judge?
Yeah, you can get warned by the judge. I know recently I was talking to someone, and I used the word hell, and later the opposing counsel, and I used it as an example, I said something like, they're not like, what the hell happened here, or something. And the counsel's like, oh, and you swore during the proceeding. And I'm like, well, first of all, I didn't know hell was a swear anymore, but apparently it is. And second of all, I noticed the judge didn't care, so shut up. But, so sometimes it's appropriate. And I actually was just quoting what somebody had said, so it made me laugh even more because if counsel had been paying attention, they'd realize I wasn't swearing. I was quoting accurately. And actually, let me tell you this. This happens all the time in court. People come in and they say, now, what did the guy say? Now, we're describing a bar fight somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like, dear sir, would you like to step outside and have a altercation? It's like, I'm going to knock your this and that. So, of course, the guy will look at the judge and say, Judge, I don't want to say what he said. And the judge is like, you have to say what he said. We don't paraphrase things here. We don't make things up here. You just say what you heard. And it's sometimes funny because you'll get some witnesses who aren't used to using colorful language, forced to quote the colorful language they've heard. We have some other people who, it rolls off their tongue pretty well. And in those circumstances, you have to. It's perfectly appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one quick thing.
Yeah.
Can I be fined?
Well, yeah, you can be in contempt of court and fined. Absolutely.
Is that big money?
I haven't really seen any big money fines. I mean, you really have to work at it to get a fine. I'm aware of a lawyer who failed to show up for a number of hearings, and he finally got fined for it. I'm aware of some people who've been, bound and gagged and taken out of their own proceeding, and not allowed to participate anymore if they continue to interrupt. But I think monetary sanctions are something that the court doesn't routinely use.
Okay. All right, thank you.
What are you planning to do, my friend?
No. Look, this was a simple case. You pushed me into appealing this one case where I went to a magistrate
You're already blaming me.
On a person that only gave me 1 week's notice to leave the apartment. I kept the security deposit. They took me to court. The magistrate fined me. And
this is the one where the magistrate was completely wrong. Correct. And you appealed it. Now, of course, they have to start from scratch, right?
Yeah, we've done that, and we're back and forth because they never did get an attorney. They filled it out, didn't fill it out appropriately. My attorneys has to, do things to tune it up. So we're back and forth. I think we're close to going in. To me, this is a long way to something that was so simple. It's disappointing.
All right. I appreciate the fact that I pushed you into it. Keep me advised on what's going on, and thanks for calling me here, buddy.
Yeah, okay.
All right, take care, Scott. 243-1200, 697-4297, 866-532-9466. The girls on Facebook are commenting on me. They say I sound sober. I think they're impressed that it's Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Yeah, I know. Isn't that nice?
That's nice.
Friends like that. If you need to liquidate an estate or business, I recommend you call RJ Gold Auctions. He can buy outright or sell items to you at auction. RJ Gold can be reached at 645-0061. He purchases items outright, such as medals, pins, patches, tokens, awards, and badges, and most historical collectibles. He can pay you right away. RJ Gold, 645-0061. 6th Street in Harrisburg. Plan to attend RJ's Awesome Auction Sunday, December 22nd, 1 p.m. at the Park Inn Radisson on the Carlisle Pike in Mechanicsburg. PA license auctioneer AU00579. I guess that's RJ's Awesome Auction Sunday, December 22nd, 1 p.m. at the Park Inn Radisson in Carlisle Pike in Mechanicsburg. And, of course, I want to remind you, I was just over there last night and picked up some cigars. Harrisburg Beer and Cigar over on Union Deposit Road in Harrisburg is going to have a Ashton Sampler Extravaganza. And I think that's this weekend. And it's $10 ticket for the event. Every Ashton samples and deals 10% off. All boxes 20% off. For your ticket purchase, you get cigar your choice to smoke during the event and some cool swag. So give that a check. It's going to be pretty cool. We got any ads you need to do, my friend? All right, it's you.
They may have a new name, but their values, integrity, and management have remained the same. Seligman Friedman & Company has changed the name to SF & Company. While their name may be different, clients will still receive the same service and attention to detail that Seligman Friedman & Company has provided for over 50 years. From traditional accounting and auditing to wealth management, business valuations, and litigation support, let SF & Company handle all your needs. Their commitment to providing close personal attention to their clients makes SF & Company the best partners you could choose. Visit SF & Company's new website at www.sfc-cpa.com. That's www.sfc-cpa.com or call Kathy Grove at 717-843-0040. SF and Company. Financial solutions made simple.
Cheers. What a week. We are so over this job.
I know. That's why I got a new one.
You what? When?
I start Monday.
What?
Crazy, right? So much to get done first. Like my dry cleaning.
Pick up?
Great. Medium starch?
Sure.
Thanks.
How did you...
I just looked up dry cleaners at DexKnows.com, which reminds me, should definitely get my hair done, too.
Who's that?
This is Ryan, a stylist I just found with Dex Mobile.
Hi there.
That's some ass.
I know, right? When you need something here and you need it now, you gotta Dex it.
Gotta. Hey, can I try that?
Sure.
Because I could really go for a big masseuse.
You mean massage?
Whatever.
Need something local and need it now? Find it with Dex in the book at DexKnows.com or on your mobile phone. You'll get the sharpest local info, reviews, and advice fast. Dex, results for the here and now.
Let the Days in Carlisle South be your family holiday season home away from home. If you have family and friends planning a holiday visit, but you're out of room at home, the Days in South is your perfect solution.
At the Days in Carlisle South, we're day makers. This is Maureen Davis, manager of the Days in Carlisle South, with an invitation for you. Take advantage of our very affordable rates, warm hospitality, and a cozy environment. We come highly recommended. Days in Carlisle South can meet your group's needs with great accommodations for all of your out-of-town guests. We offer our guests free hot breakfast and coffee to make their day. Go to daysincarlisle.com or call 258-4147 for group reservations.
The Days in Carlisle South is located at 101 Alexander Spring Road. Take exit 45 off I-81. Go south, then turn right at the Bonanza off the Walnut Bottom Road. The Days in Carlisle South is your holiday home away from home.
It's 8:31. Phone numbers to call Karl Rominger live, 243-1200, 697-4297 or 1-866-532-9466. Once again, with weekend appointment, here's Karl Rominger.
What the hell?
I know, isn't that cute?
Yes, and yes.
It's just precious. All right, you've guys got some legal questions. Get them on the air here because, I'm going to go back to bed here at some point. And I won't
Thanks for rubbing that in.
Yeah, I'll be here, but I'm going back to bed. I just peeled myself out at 7:59 and teleported down here with my cup of Joe in hand. Boy, what did I want to talk to you guys about? Well, let's see. What do we know? I'm talking about the Supreme Court. I think that's very interesting what's going. We've got a lot of good cases that are going to come out of there. I actually have a brief pending in the U.S. Supreme Court. I never did that before, but I had a client, and we made it all the way to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. I've lost every time. I've lost this case at the trial court level. I've lost it at the Superior Court level. I've lost it in the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, unanimously, just in case you're wondering. However, the issue I raised was apparently good enough that everybody wants to hear it. And then the Syracuse University Law School approached me because they were aware of the case coming out of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and said, we want to assist your client in bringing this constitutional challenge to the United States Supreme Court. We will pick up the tab and we will provide a law school professor and some students to work on the Supreme Court writ of certiorari. And so I asked the client, I said, we'd be crazy not to do it, wouldn't we? And they agreed. And so I have a case, we filed. Now, interestingly, the United States Supreme Court moves pretty quick. So if you file something in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, you might get an answer in like 2012, 14, 16, depending. It could take forever. They're not that bad, but we sometimes say, it takes a long time. At the federal level, from the time you file it, you can get an answer in as short as 6 to 8 weeks because there's 30 days for the opposing side to answer it. And once the opposing side answers it, they put it into conference relatively rapidly, and they basically say you probably will be listed and conferenced and find out if you're going to be taken by the court in very short order. So I'm expecting to find a result of that here in December, January. And if the case is accepted after the third week in January, then it lops over to the fall, and you have your Supreme Court argument next fall because they're off for the summer. If it's taken up by the court before the third week in January, they will actually schedule it for argument and decide it before June. So I'm crossing my fingers. Years and years ago, when Rehnquist was still on the Supreme Court,